So welcome, you're all here for Global Digital Week and learning more about how AI can help improve your lives. I'm Gilberto DeSalvo, I'm the CEO of Delphire. We're working on emergency detection using artificial intelligence to speed up how we detect emergencies today and how we report them visually from the field. I'm here with Bill Ward.
I'm the executive director of PumpPod USA. We manufacture the Helipod, and the Helipod is a high-capacity automated helicopter dip tank that helps the helicopters respond to a wildfire.
So today we're going to tell you a little bit about how we can use all of these digital technologies together to redefine the standard for how fires are detected. Currently, we're looking for giant plumes of smoke above the forest canopy, and we're trying to redefine that to detecting a small fire or an emergency in its incipient stages while it's still happening early on so that it can be tackled easier. By detecting these fires earlier, for example, we did some test ignitions down in Irvine, California, here by us, and we set up at several hundred meters away from where the ignition was happening, and we were able to capture all of these ignitions within about a minute of the fire starting. This is a new way of using artificial intelligence by capturing these fires at a very, very early stage. And by using AI, we were also able to detect some of these fires at night, like the picture on the top right. This opens up a whole new field of firefighting, which can use the pump pod together with our system to enable responding to a fire day or night and automating some parts of the detection, the visual confirmation by providing these images directly to the fire department, and then working with PumpPod here to automate with our technology how the tank is being filled and automating the lights so that we're able to tackle fires any time of the day, whenever they happen, and tackle them much more quickly than is possible today. For example, let's say a fire happens in the environment, we're able to just analyze the data locally. This speeds up the time by using artificial intelligence that it takes for a fire to be recognized. We can take that picture, we can compress it locally, and we can send it over to our servers. And then from our servers, we can send that picture on to a lot of different stakeholders and make it available, for example, to fire responders so that they can get ready to respond. We can make it available to Bill so they can start filling his helicopter dip tanks. And we can make it available to the people on the ground so that you can get out of your home, so that you can be safe, and so your family can get out and actually have enough time to make sure that other people in your community are safe as well, and so you're able to help each other get out. That's something that today is not being done well enough, and we want to bring all of these stakeholders together using digital data and using artificial intelligence to make sure that you're warned quicker. We also want to scale to flooding, high wind events, and other natural disasters so that you get a warning when there's a real risk, and so that help can be brought over to you by enabling communications in areas that are normally difficult to reach. How do we do this? Well, we built a device which enables, as a communication platform as its core, it's secure data communication. And then we have optional cameras on board that can be added on to provide visual monitoring, both visible and thermal, of the location. And we can add a variety of chemical sensors on board of our unit. We can also cover wind speed and wind direction if it's needed. And since the platform is modular, there might be places where we simply want to use our communications and data analysis packages with existing platforms. We're able to extend to those via our smart AI, which is running on board into our device. And we can also use our connectors on board to extend to other applications like working with Bill. As an example, the same technology which is in our core package can be used to automate their tank, and Bill is going to tell us a little bit more about how that's impactful.
Yeah, so the Helipod is groundbreaking in the fact that it's the kind of tank that actually automatically fills. So once it's connected to a water source, it will automatically fill either when commanded by the automated system and communications package, and or someone can then also activate it manually if they needed to do on site. The key thing with the Helipod is that when the helicopter comes on scene, which a lot of times he's the first one, he can help keep the fire down to a manageable level to where the fire ground units can come in and now help finish putting out the flames in the fire. The other key thing is, how does it affect your lifestyle? So if the water source is close to the communities of the wildland urban interface, then it can do a couple of things. One, keep this fire small, but if you're keeping the fire small while the people are evacuating, we don't have situations that happen like in Northern California to where they didn't get any notice and a number of people got caught on the road and a number of them perished. So the faster that the AI system, like the Delphire system, can detect it, the faster then the helicopters can be dispatched, and the faster the ground units can be dispatched, and the quicker then the reverse 911 can notify the homeowners and the people who could potentially be in the path. So I know that part of the AI system can also be used either by the fire department to determine where does that fire, where it's at right now, and the weather conditions predict where that fire is going to go and who needs to be evacuated.
And it's also very important to realize that even though you might live next to the sea or you might live next to a water source, that source might not be practical for a helicopter to be used to respond.
Right. I mean, a good example of that is we just had the coastal fire here this May of 22 in Laguna Niguel. It was literally less than a half a mile from the ocean. And you cannot use ocean seawater because it'll ruin the helicopter, but it'll also kill all the ground for a very long time from ever growing anything again. And it also can cause corrosion on the homes or whatever you put the water on. So the key thing to the helipod is you're bringing the water source or the pond or the lake right into the community to where you can put as much water on the fire per hour as possible. And that the Delphire system gives as much advance warning while it's small to where when they're responding, it doesn't get away from them, especially in a windy condition. That's very important.
Yeah, so hopefully that gives you a pretty good overview about how a system using AI and digital technologies can be used to keep our forest green by automating the detection, the reporting of a fire with a picture so that you know it's a real issue, but also helping with other technologies in the fire response to make sure that they are ready to go when they're truly needed, so that the fire department can leverage them much more quickly than is possible today. Next, I'd love to connect with some of the residents of some of these areas to hear about how disasters have impacted their lives and how they think that these technologies can actually help them with these disasters in the future. Thank you.
You bet.
Hey, thanks for everybody for joining us here for Global Digital Week. Today, I'd love to talk a little bit more about AI, cameras, and communications and how they can help with natural disasters. So, again, Gilberto DeSalvo, I run Delphire, and we're a startup that's tackling the wildfire detection issues and enabling communications in remote areas and in disaster areas. So why don't we go around the room and everybody introduce themselves? Sarah, do you want
to? My name is Sarah Johnston. I am a community member in the Aldercroft Heights community in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And I'm an organizer around wildfire resiliency for our neighbors.
And Wolf?
I am Wolf. I'm a NASA Technology Transfer Partner, and I'm an intern in microgrid technology at Delphire.
And can you tell us a little bit more about your background in disasters? What's got you interested in them and what you've been doing?
Sure. So for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been the CEO of a company, Dara Enterprises. We specialize in industrial safety and equipment. We have been very busy in the Gulf area, in Louisiana, more than 4 level 5 hurricanes. And then I came out to California to try to get away from the hurricanes, and I've been stuck in the snowstorm of the century in the mountain resort area for 7 days. So disasters have been following me around, and it's just good because I specialize in technologies around industrial safety and emergency. So I'm okay being trapped in disaster.
And then Raghu, would love for you to introduce yourself and kind of your background in technology and.
Yeah, I am Raghu Kunath. My background is electrical engineering mostly. I've got some medical engineering background as well, and a business degree. I have worked on technologies for edge computing, specifically in the oil and gas space for oil spill detection, wireless communication, and that sort of areas. So yeah, that's my background. I've done a lot of product development, business development as well.
And it sounds like we have a great experience covering just about almost every disaster here, maybe except for earthquakes. And hopefully we don't get any more of those here in California for a while. Yeah, I'd love to see kind of what everybody's perspective is and going around the room about how the global digital world can help us tackle some of these challenges, especially in regards to how remaining connected can change the outlook of a disaster and how imagery of multiple types and AI can help tackle some of these challenges that we see during the early stages of some of these events, and then how to facilitate the response of the event to an event, which can last sometime for several days or weeks, depending on how things are. So why don't we start with Wolf, since you're actually in the middle of one of these events right now, and tell us a little bit about how the day-to-day looks and how these technologies might help in the future.
So I'm in Lake Arrowhead, California, about 5,600 mountains. In the snowstorm of the century, I literally have 25 feet of snow outside of my home. When I walk out of my home, I'm looking at my second story. And when it comes to disaster communications, I can tell you there was a complete breakdown in communicating risk and communicating road closures. So when you talk about the visibility, I mean, let's start first of all, just road closures and the extreme nature of weather. That's number one. So it took me 2 or 3 days to really realize how bad the weather was. And it's, if your electricity's off or you close down, but you still have your cell phone, it seems to me to be a missed opportunity to not communicate with everyone in a geozone. Hey, you're in an area that's about to get 25 feet of snow, or that has 10 feet of snow that won't be plowed for 4 or 5 days. And that coordinated communication seems to be difficult right now for communities, for first responders. The second thing is fire risk. So it took 9 homes to explode because the gas meters were buried in snow before we got the first communication from the gas and utility companies that we should watch out for trouble. 9 homes literally exploded, and before the first communication went out. So there's another area that is a problem. And the big problem is they had to wait for helicopter flyovers to do the risk assessment. Well, if you have to wait for a storm to clear to do the helicopter flyover, you're putting people at risk for days, because you don't know that storm, like the storm up here, it took 5 days for it to be clear enough for them to do the flyover. So having that early alert, this is the extreme degree of the weather. This is your risk of fire, with either buried meters, electric or gas meters, or water explosions. And then the third area, and it's going to be a stretch for the technology, and maybe a coordination with at-home devices like Google, Google Home, or the Amazon Echo, but communicating from the community's standpoint out to the emergency providers. Mm-hmm. So up here, and during the hurricanes too, there are a lot of instances where people have a cell phone or they have some other device that's active. They don't have a voice during the emergency to say, hey, I'm trapped in my home and I need diabetes medicine, or I'm trapped in my home with 5 kids, or I'm trapped and my leg is broken. That communication from the person who's most extreme at danger out to the first responders there's a technology gap there that I think products like the Delphire products can help solve.
Thank you. And Sarah, why don't you give us your perspective from the wildfire standpoint?
Certainly. So we are residents of the WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface, and so we have a neighborhood here with about 120 homes. Yet we're surrounded by forested lands, and some of those are overgrown with invasive species. And we've heard all about forest management practices and lack of letting fires burn and that sort of thing to clean up a lot of the lands around us. And so we're living amongst that. To add to our challenges, we're also what's known as a one-way out community. We really have one good or not so great, not even so great road in order to get our residents out to safety. So for us, it's really important that we know early and that we know exactly where the wildfire is, because we don't want our residents to get into a situation where they're evacuating somewhere that they're actually putting themselves at greater risk. So as Wolf said, it's all about communications. So to have the earliest possible notification out to all of our residents that there is an imminent threat, you need to leave now. So we're not all, trying to get down these one-lane roads with a wildfire blazing behind us, and also to notify those first responders as soon as possible in order to get some help. But the other thing I think also is with the intelligence of that system is we don't want a system that gives us a bunch of false warnings either. So it's really got to be a smart system to understand the difference between fog and clouds and smoke and what all those things are. Because if you don't have a system that can do that, you're giving people false warnings, then maybe when there really is an emergency, people aren't going to listen to it. Mm-hmm. So we are really looking to try and develop those sorts of communication systems within our community to help give our residents the best chance in the event of what it's not if it will come. We really feel like it's when it will come. We really want the best chance, and so we're really looking towards systems like Delphire to do that for our community.
Thank you. It's definitely a challenge to get things perfect, but we're striving towards that, and I think we can make a big impact. And one of the things that we try to set apart is that we're able to send out a picture every time that there's an event so that people can look at it and evaluate very quickly. Is this a problem? And I think the community coming together and helping form, and we're already seeing examples of this more widely, which is people are forming communication channels that are shared where you can leverage the community aspect of looking at the data that's coming in from all the systems like ours and really inform and help propagate the alert. Because you need a whole community coming together to tackle the problem and to respond to it. Rego, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the oil spill aspect of detecting and communicating alerts around that, which is also a big challenge for a big impact on climate today is the oil and gas industry, and